I'm a TCM practitioner. That's going to make me look at things differently, but that also means that I'm not diagnosing anything, even if I am answering one of your emails on air. It is merely vague information. And today is very exciting because today's concept is intuition versus anxiety. How do you know if it's your gut or your fear? And part of the reason I'm really excited about this is because we have an unlimited number of emotions we can feel and a very limited number of physical sensations to let us know what we're feeling. So we know that if our throat starts to feel tight, we might be sad or want to cry. We know that if our shoulders start rising up, we might be stressed. But intuition and anxiety both often show up as a gut feeling. So, when we have that, when something feels off or something feels really good, we often don't know why. And then a few seconds later, our brain goes, yeah, but are you sure? Or is that just an old habit playing? And then you spend 3 days in your head trying to figure out which one was real. So we're talking about how do you separate your nervous system from your opinions, um,
Eating itself.
a feat in itself. We're talking about the fact that whether it's intuition or anxiety, those are both parts of you that really are doing their best to be helpful to you. And if you've lived through anything difficult, and really who hasn't, the the wiring between those two things gets really complicated in a way that Google is not necessarily going to be able to help you sort it out. And this is about how your history shapes what you're able to hear, what it looks like to build a relationship with your own inner knowing that you can actually trust, not just when things are calm. Because that's the digital dojo, is how do you build practices that are good when you're on your feet in the street and also when you're relaxing and able to really think through things. So we've got a really good pile of listener questions today. And as always, if something lands, send us a message. We want to hear from you. And in dojo terms, let's jump on the mat.
Woo woo.
Woo woo. Do you have anything to say?
I do, shockingly enough. Uh, these kinds of questions, and actually, when I was thinking about it, we were talking about getting ready for, what we wanted to share and talk about on this episode. I got very aware of how all of the things we talk about, particularly from a black belt mind perspective, are about practical practice. And then it made me think about and realize how much fundamentally that we define as intuition is a big part of how we train people at the dojo. We are really always looking to help people get a clearer sense of what their intuition is and what it isn't, and the role that that plays in handling fear and anxiety. Because I often describe, people ask me about martial arts all the time, and they're like, "Well, what is jujitsu? What do you do? And you just beating people up all the time?" And I'm like, "No, it actually is a spiritual practice, and it's a very practical one. And I think of it that way so effortlessly and so easily that I oftentimes kind of forget. But as soon as I say the word spiritual, people get like kind of wigged out, or they go, "Oh, I don't know. I just want to get a workout in, man. I just want to exercise."
As to the NFTS crowd going, ah,
Yeah,
spiritual.
well, where I got excited to say that word.
Well, I think you guys are cutting out.
Oh, shoot.
Oh. Um, mm, mm.
I can hear you now.
Okay.
It's turned into a cell phone commercial.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, great. Thanks for letting us know. That's awesome.
Okay, you're good
Um,
now. I don't know what was going on, but
excellent. Yeah, I don't know at all. Is there anything noise canceling maybe?
I don't think I've changed anything. I did change the angle of the mic today, thinking I was being
Oh,
clever
okay.
and setting it up the way the internet taught me to. So
Yeah, there you go. Follow the darn
I can
internet
still
again.
hear you now, so
Okay, awesome. Great. Thank you.
that's the main thing.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, so this idea of like, jiu-jitsu being a spiritual practice, and spiritual practice being something that's like super practical. Because if you can tell what's your fear and anxiety versus what's actually your intuition, I mean, I see it every day in the dojo. I see it all the time in life and business and my personal relationships. Like, I just make better decisions. So we often describe jujitsu as the practice of uh, high level decision making under the threat of dire physical consequences. Right. So when we're sparring and we're practicing techniques, we're trying to do what we in the dojo call get our opponent to tap out, right? To submit, to be able to be in such a position where they feel so thoroughly controlled that their best option is to give up and to stop the particular encounter. So that's sort of the fear, the dire physical consequence. And that's not about being violent or about being aggressive. It's actually why that aspect is so useful is it's because it's very tangible, real, and easy to read. Like if somebody is, I'm training with someone and they put me in a position where they can do what's called take my back and choke me. And if they were to continue to choke me, they could choke me unconscious. Like that's pretty clear an indicator of how successful or unsuccessful I've been in that particular instance. That extrapolates to real life because the better we can make decisions that are grounded, that are clear, that feel aligned with our values, that feel right in the moment, the more effective our decision making becomes. And at the speed of life, sometimes we don't have a lot of time to sit and ponder and make the list where people draw a ledger down, line down the page and go, oh, the pros and the cons and do all that stuff. Sometimes we just got to move. Sometimes we just have to make decisions quickly and effectively. But we can learn how to do that without rushing. And I think that's going to be an interesting thing to define for our conversation today as well too. So to me, on a daily basis, that's all part of my intuitive practice. And as soon as I think of it in that way, like, what do I feel about the situation? What am I picking up on around me? I'm always thrilled about making that more and more practical for people because it isn't this esoteric thing that's just sort of like out there floating around and burning some sage and meditating on a mountaintop for 30 years. Like it's a real thing we can access. And it's actually really quick. Before human beings had language, we actually relied upon our intuitive communication and abilities to like express and pick up on other people's feelings much, much more. So this isn't even something that's like that far removed from, I think, the essence of what we are as human beings.
Dun dun dun. Jazz
That's
hands.
all I've got to say.
That's all you've
Just
got
that.
to say.
No, I'm excited about this conversation, of course. As I'm all of them, but this one, I don't know, just this tied together a whole bunch of stuff in a really cool way that I'm excited to get people's feedback and thoughts on.
Okay. Well, and the other direction is we both worked with people who label everything intuition
Mhm.
and end up acting on things that are not great for them. And that's why one of the reasons we're excited about this, because when we label everything anxiety or when we label everything intuition and we don't allow ourselves the freedom to find out how to move back and forth between the two, we lose confidence in them. Because intuition is this beautiful, powerful thing that allows not only your knowingness and your spiritual knowingness to kick in and inform us, but also all those little nonverbal things that we pick up on that 20 million bits of data per second part of our brain picks up on. So we want to be able to know when it's that and when it's just our guts saying, remember that time when that bad thing happened? Run away, run away. We want to know the difference.
Definitely useful.
Okay. This or this?
First.
Nicole, this is your happy wheelhouse. Anything that feels important from your side, no pressure.
I am multitasking in the background, so you caught me.
Oh no, sorry.
That's
But you're
okay.
multitasking on our behalf, which is great. So
Yes,
I just want to make sure the audio's coming through good, so that's my excuse.
yes, that's a great excuse, and
I
we are
thought
grateful
so.
for that.
Yeah.
And I can leave you to your thank you very much for multitasking on our behalf. It's just intuition, I know is your world.
So what was the question?
Oh, which again, you don't have to answer. I just thought if there's anything that you went, oh my goodness, if you could include this, that would be amazing because this is the life-changing thing. And if you're helping with the audio, we also don't have to do that.
Yes, let's circle back. I'm still
Okay.
multitasking with here. I'm with you though.
And,
Woo.
and thank you for the audio.
yes, yes, definitely.
Okay, so we'll do questions.
Sounds good.
Easy ones to start off with. First one is anxiety just blocked intuition?
Huh. Interesting. My first instinct to that is no.
Mm.
But that is a very curious question that I haven't actually thought about in that specific way before.
Mm.
So that's pretty compelling. I think, well, and I'm gonna reverse engineer it. Like I think we're generally taught to view our emotions and our feelings in particular, because I differentiate those as sort of two different things, as being bothersome and troublesome, and as being a source of distraction from rational thinking, a thing that we're going to get overwhelmed by.
Mm.
As far as being able to think clearly, and all the emphasis that we put on the intellect and thinking, I think is shaped by this idea that our emotions are distractions, our feelings are a nuisance, and we shouldn't let them get in the way of this other quote unquote pure process called rational thinking. So the reason why that's fundamentally important to me in this discussion is because it's from our emotional content and our emotional experience. It's from the movement of the energy of our feelings that I think our intuition flows from. Like that's where it sort of starts in terms of becoming this very useful and functional part of our practical day-to-day practice of how to make good decisions. So that's why my answer is no to that question. Because that sort of makes it kind of a binary thing that I think is also important to this dynamic, which is like, well, I want to trust my intuition. I was feeling anxious about a decision I had to make. I thought my intuition was telling me this. I did that thing and it was wrong, quote unquote.
Yep.
That feels to me more like a misunderstanding of what intuition is and isn't, more than anything else.
Well, I'm going to add to that by adding in the next question, because I think that anxiety and intuition actually quite often for a lot of people exist on the same spectrum.
Sure.
Because the next question is, can trauma make you lose your intuition? Because I feel like mine is just gone.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think if we tie those two together, part of the challenge is that we tend to idealize intuition as this unknown, unknowable thing that you either have it or you don't. And from the work that we do, it's a muscle and a skill set and a talent that you can build like any other more intangible, in some ways, muscle, skill set, or talent. So I would say, for instance, can trauma make you lose your intuition? No, but it can absolutely feel like it, because what trauma does is it tells us, sometimes more physically, more emotionally, more spiritually. It tells us to turn up the volume on the dangers out there. And then our intuition, which picks up on all those intangible things, turns up the volume as well. So where it normally wouldn't alert us to, there's a 0.01% chance that this situation could be dangerous. It normally waits until it's a 20% or 80% chance before it lets us know there's something wrong. Oftentimes what trauma does, because it activates us and it gets us hyper vigilant, we start to respond to 1% possibility, 0.1% possibility. So the intuition's still on, it's just jammed in the on position. And it's not giving us the information between slight possibility of good or bad and holy jump and duck now. That's my answer. What's your answer?
That's a great answer. And
Thanks.
I'm
Came
just-
up with it myself.
nice job.
Thanks.
I'm just thinking of it in sort of terms about how we talk about that, sixth sense, that intuition, that sense of knowing in the dojo. I would say that my answer to that question is that trauma can certainly disconnect you from your intuition, but being disconnected from your intuition is different than having or not having the capacity for intuition. So it kind of unplugs us from our intuition in terms of traumatic impact when we are so shocked, so scared, so overwhelmed that we get disconnected from our intuitive sense. And that sort of shows up in so many practical ways that I see in the dojo all the time, which chiefly in which this, one of the ways that shows up to me the most is that I really do firmly believe and have experienced that everybody has an intuitive capacity. Like, we're born with it. Now, what we do with it determines how effective it is and useful it is in day-to-day practice, but we all have the ability to. Like, I haven't encountered anybody yet that's come into the dojo who has an open mind and heart and wants to learn techniques that cannot get better at jiu-jitsu techniques. Like, it's not about athleticism, it's not about size and strength, right? If you actually put time into the actual proper practice of developing jiu-jitsu techniques, you can definitely make improvement. And you can make improvement that usually surpasses far more than what you thought you were capable of. So when I think about the link of intuition in that sense, I feel the same about it. Like, everybody's got intuition. Everybody's got an intuitive sense. And it isn't this black or white, I'm right or wrong kind of proposition that I either have or I don't. It's like you said, it's an innate capacity that can be developed to a quite high level in ways that you didn't think were possible. And that's how you know it's developing. Like, that's how you know you're actually getting more proficient at that skill, that technique called intuition, because you surprise yourself all the time with how useful and effective it is as you develop its efficacy.
Yeah, and I think some of the follow-up for that is as you're building intuition and separating it from anxiety and trauma, I would say ask more questions and push a bit, because intuition might be the thing that you don't know why you think something, but you can ask more questions, and intuition may feel like a magical bolt out of the blue, but when it is intuition, it is still giving us real, truthful answers. So I will oftentimes get what people would call an intuitive hit during a session, where I'll go, oh, what about X? Now, if I poke a little further and I ask questions about X, and the person goes, no, 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 and there's no nonverbals that make me feel like they're hiding anything, then it wasn't intuition. It was fear, it was anxiety, it was just a random thought going through my head. But when we lean into intuition, say that 5 times, it tends to give us more information, better information, stronger information, not less.
I think that's awesome. It's making me think of like how to define. I've been talking about what intuition is, and this is just my experience and definition, of course, open to others and interpretations and what it is for other people. But part of the reason why I'm saying it's important to know what intuition is or what it isn't, and I'm speaking from like that real practical application perspective, is because then you know when you're using it and how you're using it, and you know when you're not. And I think of it more as process than product.
Mm,
Like, isn't intuition isn't really a thing more than it is kind of an energy and a way of viewing things.
mhm.
So when we break down the word, and it's not certainly not original to me. I've heard lots of people sort of say similar things, but I'll repeat it because it's useful. So if we look at the word intuition, right, it literally phonetically sounds like into it, to intuit, right? But what does it mean to intuit? It means to look into something deeply, to listen to something deeply, to search for something deeply, like to actually, whatever you're experiencing, get present with it, look into it for real with conscious focus. And that's where I find, like, especially, in a jujitsu perspective, like it's such a powerful tool because it's a way that you measure how present you are.
Mm,
And when you are open and consciously focusing on really looking at something, not just glancing at it, not just looking over it, but actually looking at the thing as the thing itself. And then you're open to like listening. If you can see we were on video, you can see I'm doing air quotes. Like listening isn't just hearing things with your ears, but like listening to, one of the things we focus on the mat is teaching people to listen to their sparring partners or their opponent in the competitions breathing,
mm,
right? And what it sort of lines up with is the idea that, well, if I actually stop long enough to really look into something, I'm going to get a whole bunch of information from it. And then that's where it sort of starts to become more process than product. Like a lot of people, and I'm curious what everybody thinks about this, but in my experience, when I talk to, people about intuition, a lot of people kind of have this very binary view of it, right? It's like, oh, it's like psychic ability, and that's not real. And oh yeah, it's like, well, I should be able to like a parlor trick. I should be able to go give you a card and let you pick, give you a deck of cards, let you pick one, and then I can guess what card you're having in your hand. You have in your hand. That's intuition. And if I get it right, well, then my intuition's working and it's useful. And if I get it wrong, then it's garbage. None of it's real, and none of it makes any sense. And I can empathize with sort of why people are ready to poo-poo intuition or anything along that lines of discussion when they think of it like that. Like it's this black and white thing, it's like it should be like an X-ray machine. I should be able to tell, do you have a broken bone or not? Or I should be able to predict the future, quote unquote. But in the way that intuition sort of functions and occurs to me, it's not about the future, it's about the present moment. And when I'm actually really grounded and willing to focus my energy to look into and listen to the experience I'm having in the present moment, I get all this information that helps me understand where this present moment could lead. Like what could happen next, quote unquote. But even that language feels entirely different to me than, oh, well, intuition's only valuable if you can like pick the lottery numbers and be right. Like, oh no, that's making it kind of a cheap party trick that really diminishes its efficacy and impact on our daily experience.
So we got two questions that tie into that. Number one, number two.
Number two.
I grew up in a household where my mother's intuition, with quotes, was actually her anxiety and control. She always knew something bad was going to happen, and she was usually wrong, but we were all supposed to treat it like wisdom. I think I learned to confuse the two from watching her. How do you untangle something like that? How do you know if your intuition was modeled for you in a broken way?
Hmm.
And I'm going to say, I'm going to kind of repeat what I said, which is follow it through then, because the more you poke at something, if it is intuition, that is truly intuition, you will find out more. It will get more powerful. You'll go, holy crap, that's why I thought that, saw that, wanted that.
Mm-hmm.
And in something like this, where her mother learned to say, oh, it's just my intuition. I know that something's bad is going to happen. We can't go out, or X, Y, and Z. When the track record of that being true is 1 out of 575, it's probably not intuition.
Hmm.
And we can follow that, because I had this discussion with a client not that long ago where they said, well, no, the reason something bad didn't happen is because I didn't go there. I didn't do the thing. And yes, sometimes that is correct, but also, I don't know if you remember, of course you remember, we were going someplace in North Vancouver one day, and we pulled over, and I think you were driving, and um, I don't like the smell of gasoline on my hands. So Dana jumped out, took the gas cap off, started the gas going, and I think you went in to pay, and then it clicked off. So you sort of tossed over your shoulder and you were like, hey, can you take the gas thing out? Which I did. And I did not touch the gas cap because I do not like the smell of those things. And you hopped in, we drove away, and I said, didn't you put the gas cap on? And you said, why would I put the gas cap on? You took the gas thing out. And I said, you didn't ask me to put the gas cap on. You asked me to take the thing out. So, of course, by then, the gas cap had fallen off the vehicle. We're now trying to search in it had only been maybe half a click, but half a click at 8 o'clock at night in the dark is a fair ways to try to find something. And it slowed us down, and we couldn't find it. And after about 15 minutes, we were really late. And we said, you know what? Let's just go to the place we're going. We'll buy a new gas cap tomorrow. And lo and behold, as we went to pull out onto the highway, a police car had just pulled up, and they said, sorry, you're going to have to go another way. There was just like a 10-car pileup about 15 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
So
I forgot about this.
yeah.
I remember now. As soon as you said, oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
Now, that wasn't technically intuition. It wasn't, gosh darn, I'd better lose the gas cap. Although some of it could have been that intuitive hit of,
No
because
accidents.
I didn't say to you, I didn't put the gas cap on. You didn't ask me. So we could say there were two intuitive things happening. But that idea that we were, by the grace of something, allowed to miss out on a terrible accident, even though it didn't happen to us, there was still a way to see that something had happened.
Mm.
So if somebody is speaking from a place of anxiety and control and saying, well, no, I haven't let you kids go outside to play because something bad was going to happen to you, and see nothing bad has happened, we can easily follow that up by going, sure, but did somebody come by and the bird bath fell and hit the grass and put a divot in it and it would have knocked us in the head, right? Can we still point to at least 1 out of 10 times that something bad did happen that would have impacted us negatively? So that is my answer. Do you have a different answer?
Oh, I got so many answers. But let's I'm gonna try to make sure that I don't get too sprawling.
Okay, because I'm going to interrupt you again.
Sure.
Sorry,
Sure.
because this is my other thing. This is one of my annoyed things about intuition. People treat intuition as if it's this thing that you cannot, like, it's this gift that you better not question, and you can't actually, it's not a muscle you can build. It is a gift, there is no question, but it is also a muscle you can build. So the more people treat it like a butterfly that might land on your shoulder but don't move or it'll fly away again, I think you're doing it a disservice and treating it as something that isn't as robust as it is. It's a huge and powerful thing that sometimes we are taught to treat as if it is this delicate thing that will run away if you look askance at it.
Yeah.
Back to you with the sports.
Yeah. That only makes my answer even more expensive, which I will try to make sure I keep it as concise as I can. I think what stands out to me about that question and the exploration of the answers to it is that feels to me like a perfect example of where fear can disconnect you from your actual intuitive sense and clarity. Right? Because again, and I hope this is interesting for people because it certainly fascinates me, but from a martial arts and jujitsu perspective, when we're talking about like a sense of, what your sparring partner is going to do, what your opponent's going to do in a competition sense, or even in a real world street sense, right? Being able to quote unquote predict their action. It's not about big expressions. It's not about like big energy or like, you know, anything kind of screaming at you in terms of the external circumstance or even internally. Like it's not loud, it's not urgent, it's not insistent. It's quite the opposite actually. When you slow yourself down enough to be really present, to intuit something, right? To get really present with it, to look at it for what it is, fear actually gets in the way. It kind of distorts your ability to see things clearly, right? And that's really connected to this idea of like anything that's coming out as urgent and fearful tends to not connect you to and calmly help you discern anything that you're trying to pick up on intuitively. Like in a jujitsu sense, when we're present in the situation with our, on the mat with our partner, it's the little things that give you information. But it's the little thing, only the little thing. You can only see the little things when you've slowed down enough to be present with your experience. And so the anything that sort of tends to be forceful isn't really indicative or in line with the power of what is intuitively accurate.
Okay, say that again. What?
So when people are trying to
Sorry.
like,
Or in my professional voice, I beg your pardon. Would you mind rephrasing that in another way?
right, like, and I think I'm kind of trying to figure out how to language around like the idea of like people kind of getting up and saying, "Well, no, I'm right about this. I have a feeling, and that we should do that. We got to."
Right,
Generally speaking, when
right,
people are trying to be forceful about
right.
what it is that they're saying is right, it's usually more distanced from being intuitively accurate, I guess,
Hmm.
than the person who is landing in that space where they're like, huh, I feel something uncomfortable about this, you know, drive we're supposed to take.
Right.
I don't know exactly what it is. It's a sense that I have that it's so present that I need to pay attention to it right now before I get into the car. Right? Like just the way that that information is presented and the way that that information is connected to tends to be different. It's not performative. It's not
Mm.
big and loud and out external. It's very internal and very kind of calm and quiet.
Yeah, fair enough. That I will
It
agree with.
whispers, not shouts, yells, or screams.
Hmm.
Oh, well, then this is where I'm trying to keep this concise, but like, although there are cases where I think the the volume of your intuition can seem really loud internally, but that's not because you've turned up the volume on that voice internally. It's because you've gotten so still and so quiet that you've quieted everything outside of you around you in terms of how it impacts you, right? Like I often feel like one of the things I say to people at the dojo all the time is like, stop listening to the noises of the dojo more than you listen to the quiet of yourself, right? Because we're out in the world, especially our world, just overwhelm everywhere. Internet,
Hmm.
smartphones, computers, traffic noise, like everything is screaming all the time at us.
Hmm.
But so it's not about turning up the volume of our intuition. It's about cultivating the ability to quiet the rest of the world, quiet what's outside of you,
Hmm.
and really listen to what you're feeling and experiencing as you get more present in whatever moment you're in.
Yeah, and I think honestly that's where some of the little tricks kind of help because we could shorthand this to say you could be feeling intuition and anxiety at the same time, but anxiety is going to tell you that all the bad things are always true all the time. So,
Sorry,
yeah, I interrupted you first. It's fine.
thanks. I appreciate it. I was just going to say that actually anxiety can help you understand where you need to focus your intuition, right? If you read it as just information, it's just trying to give you information about how you are functioning in your present environment. So it doesn't have to disconnect you from your intuition. It can actually be a guardrail, a tool, a metric on your compass to help you focus your intuition.
But you're going to have to say something else because now people are going to go, great. So I'll just listen to all my anxiety all the time, which is not what you're saying,
Well, but in some senses, I am saying that.
but not the way it sounds.
Sure, but I can
Because
say
you're
that,
not saying your anxiety is telling you the truth.
no, but I can say that simply in the sense that anything you listen to, so maybe it's differentiate it like this. We could say, and we could switch it around. It doesn't really matter what the words are, but we're just talking about two distinct energies, right? You can hear a lot of stuff, but we all tend to, as human beings, like be more impacted by the things that we actually focus to listen to, right? I can hear the radio on in the background, okay, and know that there's music playing, know that there's a song with lyrics playing, but if I'm engaged in something else, I'm not necessarily listening to it in the specific way that's going to give me the information that it has. So if I decide to, while I'm working away at something, washing the dishes, and I'm listening to the radio, and then I decide to listen to it, and that's a matter of focus to me, the difference between hearing and listening. So if I focus on that song and then I hear the melody and the actual lyrics, I hear what it's saying, I have new information about whether or not I want to keep listening to that specific song or not. So it's not about the energy that I'm listening to. It's not about the song on the radio that I'm listening to. It's about how I tune into it or don't. That increases my awareness around how much choice I have to either keep listening to the song and enjoy it more and more and more, because part of how I'll enjoy it is by actually listening to it by focusing on it, or by realizing that I don't really like the song and it's not really the song I want to listen to anymore. But because I actually listened to it, I know that now and I can make a choice to switch the station or listen to a different song.
I will accept that.
So anxiety isn't good or bad. Our feelings aren't good or bad. They're just information because they're just energy. And what we do with them determines whether we feel forced to follow their dictates or whether or not we get more information about what we're actually hearing and then make an informed choice about how we want to handle that information or not.
Yeah, and
It's my story and I'm sticking to it.
and I think some of that too. I was just thinking, for instance, in shamanic terms, because I've done some core shamanism training, and in shamanic terms, they talk about, for instance, soul retrieval. So they say when something really hard happens, part of your soul goes away somewhere where it's safe, and then you can do a soul retrieval to help the person bring that soul part back. The way it's described is almost identical to how science and psychology describes dissociation,
Mm.
which is the same idea. Some part of me, if it's present, is going to go away. They've also found when you're looking at how traumas get sorted in the brain, normally what happens is there is let's say, a physical spot in the brain where drinking water is located. There are normally dozens, hundreds, thousands of ways into drinking water and dozens, hundreds, thousands of ways out of drinking water. So I am thirsty, I drink water, I am not thirsty anymore. I am tired, I drank water, I'm not tired anymore. I am tired, I drank water, I'm more tired. So any way in can lead to any way out. When there is a trauma around something, let's say you were drinking water and something sadly, unfortunately, terribly went awry. Now, no matter how many ways go in to that spot in the brain or in your soul for drinking water, the output is be on guard, it's dangerous. So there are a number of techniques that focus on how do you open up those possibilities again. So when you're talking about anxiety, one of the ways you can start to identify that as separate from intuition is your intuition may be saying that something is good or something is bad, but the anxiety will always, no matter what you end up choosing, will always have you feeling still on edge. Because anxiety's job is to keep you on edge. That's the purpose of it, right? You're in the forest. I always use a bear as an example. I feel like I'm giving bears a bad rap. I like bears. I'm a big fan of bears. This is not about the bears. And in fact, that's why I'm using the bear as an example, because bears get a bad rap. So in our human brains, you're out hiking in the woods, you turn a corner, there is a bear. Human brain goes, ah, a bear. panic in the streets, panic in the forest. And you go into hyper arousal, hyper alert. You get a lot of adrenaline, cortisol, all those things going. Your heart rate speeds up so that everything works faster, so you can think faster and you can go, what kind of bear is this? It's a black bear. Black bears don't actually, I read that they don't actually like attacking people. I'm probably not a human popsicle for them. They just really want to be left alone. So I am therefore going to not look it in the eyes so I do not seem like a threat. And I'm going to make myself big and start to back away. And lo and behold, it works because on the bears side of things, it was going, man, this is such a terrible trail these days. It's full of these loud things. So bear is quite happy to let you go. Anxiety's purpose is to keep you hyper aware and hyper alert so that if any other dangerous thing is around, we see the movement out of the corner of our eye. We hear the crack as something steps on a twig. We are ready for any other danger that is coming. Its job isn't to tell you the truth about danger. It's meant to make you hyper aware that maybe somewhere there is danger. So when you focus on anxiety, you tend to continue to feel anxiety, right? There is a noise. It could be a bear. It could be a mountain lion. It could be Sasquatch. And we feel terrified and still anxious. When we are leaning into intuition, when we take that moment, we settle in, we take some deep breaths, we actually pay attention, listen, like you were talking about. Even if we don't like the answer, we tend to feel a little calmer. Our gut tends to relax because it's being listened to. So the long-term solution is learn how to get present, whether that's, we do that with the black belt mind information. We do that with NAP. We do that with a million different things. Some people do that by meditation or journaling or dance, movement, whatever it is. They all work. They're a long-term solution to get you out of fight or flight, out of anxiety, and into the present and into your body. The short version is some of the little physical tricks you can do to calm your system down. Even the triple breath thing. So kids learn this when we're overwrought, when we're over anxious. If you have a kid and they're really upset about something or they're overtired and they're having a temper tantrum and they're actually crying, you will hear them automatically go, and they will take 3 quick breaths and then a big sigh out, and 3 quick breaths and big sigh out. That actually chills out your nervous system. So if you are feeling anxious, you're trying to make a decision, and you haven't had time to meditate or study digital dojo things or et cetera, you can try that. And in that moment, at least, you do that 3 times in a row. You sit for a moment, you listen to the thing, you ask yourself questions about it. In that moment, some decision is going to feel calmer, even if you don't like it, and some decision or choice is going to make you feel less calm. That's your interim steering wheel for which road to choose, anxiety or intuition.
Are you, dare I say, positing to put forward the idea that anxiety can be useful?
No, 100% no. Why would I say something crazy like that?
That's really cool because we're being very firmly tongue-in-cheek here because
Don't believe in any of that.
That clarifies for me in a way that I was already aware of, but it's really cool to get re-aware of, I guess, in a new way. At this point, that's what we teach people to do at the dojo. Right? That their emotional experience and their feelings, one of which can be anxiety, which is just a harmonic of fear, can actually give them.
Sorry, I heard harmonica.
Oh, could be harmonica of fear. It sounds like a band name too. A scary blues band. That our feelings are actually really, really, really valuable information. And in the moment, if we get present with them, if we accept them, as opposed to trying to deny their presence, they will give us very valuable information that allows us to shift our focus to, let's use all the language you've built today, to intuit the next most valuable thing, right? To get the most truthful thing out of the next moment that you're going to go through possible by accepting the information from your emotions and realizing that they are not necessarily trying to only tell you about the potential danger in your environment, but they're also trying to give you information that that is contained in them that will actually help you navigate that danger in whatever form it happens to show up as, whether it's exactly what you're afraid of or something different. So that idea of reframing our feelings as having really valuable information to us, which is why we should allow ourselves to actually focus on them sometimes, like to listen to what they're trying to tell us. In other words, to accept them, not to deny them, feels inherently tied to the skill building aspect of intuition.
I can't tell you how many times I have seen a client, usually one, I'm not bashing Western medicine. I think it has some beautiful aspects to it. And like anything else, there are aspects that are less good. And so I will have people come to see me after a lot of medical trauma where they've, or especially if they have had something that um, they've been to see this doctor, this specialist, and are told time and time again, that's not a real problem. You're making it up. There's nothing wrong with you. Or there's nothing to be done because the only thing that can be done has already been tried and it didn't work. And usually, about halfway through our first conversation, they will say quite hesitantly, yeah, it's probably not this, but haha, but it started after this thing happened. Or I've always felt it was tied into this. And I'll go, bingo, thank you, yes, because, and I'll say in a Chinese medicine world, that leads to this, or in a trauma aware world with NAP, this feeling leads to that feeling. And they will almost inevitably, again, relax. That's one of the ways we know that the intuition is pointing us in the right way. They will relax. And they'll say, I was afraid to tell you, but I always knew that was it. I just didn't know why. So that is our short and long version is we actually have, normally we don't have check marks of here are some easily done things. We have check marks today. So check mark number 1, listen to the things, even if it's the anxiety. That doesn't mean you have to act on them or believe everything it's saying. Listen to yourself, see what helps you feel better, where a little bit of your nervous system, your shoulders, your gut relax when you say, okay, I am going to that thing, I am not going to that thing. Whether or not you want to, if you get a little of relaxation, which doesn't mean you're going to feel 100% amazing about it if you wanted to do something else, but we usually feel with those best decisions, we do relax a little bit. And then also the
Well, and even at the fundamental of all that, if you slow down long enough to take a look at something or actually really look into it or listen to it, your tendency will be to slow down long enough to take a breath. And it's amazing to me how one of the first techniques people are often surprised that we teach and emphasize first and foremost at the dojo and, forever at the dojo is breathing. Before you throw a punch, before you throw a kick, before you try to do a throw, before you try to do a defense, breathe. Got to breathe. And that's the real quote unquote hack to remember in any situation that feels anxious or that is scrambling your circuits or making you feel overwhelmed by potential chaos or the thought of it. Even take a breath, stop. I think that that's the place where we line up the idea that the more present we are, the more functionally and accurately intuitive we are, right? Because when you're present, it's easy to assess because you see things as they are, not as you're afraid of that they will be. And you actually pay attention to where you're putting your focus.
Okay, so then tips and tricks again. So tip and trick number 3, 7, 25 is depending on how you normally process things, most people tend to be either visual or kinesthetic or auditory in how they process. There are other options. Those are the three of the most common ones. So visual, you process by seeing something. So I'm not as auditory a processor. If something's written down, I can process it much faster once I read it. So when people say, oh, do you want to listen to an audiobook? I think, oh, for the love of all things holy, no, like, let me just read it. It's so much faster. If you are an auditory person, you will process through listening. You will understand things better. If you're a kinesthetic person, you're the person who does something and it makes sense. You can read it, you can see a video, but as soon as you do it, you will never forget it. You will be able to work your way through it. So if you are trying to figure out, is this anxiety or intuition, then once you know what kind of processor you are, do that thing to get you in your body and listening and paying attention. So if you're visual, find one red thing in your surroundings, one green thing, one brown thing, one black thing, one white thing. Get your visual cortex activated, that gets you in your body and aware and relaxed. If you're auditory, listen for 5 sounds. I'm saying 5 on purpose because 3 is honestly usually the magic number. There's a reason it's used in magic. But 5 is a little bit of overkill on purpose because oftentimes the first 3 have us still in a state of anxiety, if that's what it is. So listen to a sound in the room, find a sound outside the room, find a sharp sound, find a low sound, find 5 different sounds. If you're kinesthetic, put both hands on your legs. Which leg feels more tense under your hands? Which hand feels more warm on your legs? Put your hands on your arms. Are your arms cooler or are your legs? So do 5 physical things and feel for the similarities and differences. At the end of that, whatever your kinesthetic, visual, auditory thing is, take a few nice deep breaths, 3 again, magic number, and then ask the question again. If it was anxiety, the answer will be quieter or not feel accurate anymore. If it was intuition, the answer will often feel louder. That is my tip. We have 4 minutes. Do we do a question or do you have something you want to say?
How's that possible? That's not
Magic.
a real thing. Yeah, just what you were talking about there was so compelling and really cool because
That's
in
me.
sort of those practical terms, what Colleen was suggesting in terms of how you learn best, basically, right? Like how do you what's your propensity towards learning something or remembering to do something that you've learned? All that practice, whether it's auditory, visual, kinesthetic, however it goes, is really an opportunity to practice shifting your focus. And that's such a valuable thing. And I think that that's really inherently tied to learning to trust your intuitive sense of things, right? Because really that's just a reflection of how much you trust yourself.
Yeah.
And if you find yourself trusting your intuition enough to take the risk to try to trust it again, that means that you've grown, you've shifted your focus about how you look at your ability to assess things. You look at your ability to like differentiate and discern things. And that practice of shifting focus is so crucial to always feeling like you can be present and get new information from any situation that you're ever in.
We have 2.5 minutes. Do you want another?
My goodness.
Can we answer a question that quickly?
Let's try. You can try.
Okay, one more. My late mother was highly intuitive, almost eerily so. Since she's passed, I've had a few experiences where I felt like I was picking up something from her. I don't know if that's grief, wishful thinking, or something real. I'm not sure I'm ready for the answer, but I want to ask anyway. And usually we don't read people's names because we are very big on privacy. But this person said, please feel free to mention Helen so I know it's me.
Cool. I'd say I have an answer that's pretty quick, but
Yep.
yeah. So I'd say that let's take it out of the realm of that, challenging to discern kind of like, oh, it's her talking to me or anything like that. Okay. What it feels to me like you're doing there, Helen, is you're modeling your mom really well. Okay? People who tend to be looked at as being intuitive, quote unquote, are people who know how to listen really deeply. They listen to things. They listen to what people are saying, but not only do they listen to what people are saying, they listen to how people are saying those things because those things are full of information. And science has proven undoubtedly that, for most human beings in general, what we say is, and the words we use is about 10% of our communication. Right? The rest is body language, energy, rhythm, pace, tone, all of that sort of stuff. So I would say what you're doing and why your mom was so good at that kind of intuitive understanding of things is because she was probably a really excellent listener as well. Those two sort of go together.
So you're all about the listening.
All about the listening.
You are a one-trick pony today.
I am. Although
No,
listening,
two tricks, breathing.
oh yes, although listening has like many forms. It's not just the things that I hear.
Ooh.
What am I listening to? I'm listening with my whole body. I'm listening with all my focus and attention. Like we can hear things, as I put them in air quotations, like that kind of with that kind of listening, then that we wouldn't be able to pick up on if we were just focusing on the words and or only the sounds.
So you are saying by modeling, if Helen is listening more, she will be able to hear the difference between wishful thinking and something real.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well translated. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jazzy jazz hands.
Jazzy jazz hands. And I think that is the end of I feel like, what is that, Carol Burnett? I feel like I'm so glad we've had this time together.
That's where you're at.
Yeah. I can't believe that. That's crazy time. Crazy talk.
So shameless self-promotion because we have figured out the system by now.
Let's do it.
We have items up on Etsy. They are almost ready to go live. They should be live in a week. I'm very excited. This has been a year of our lives. Thank you very much. With beautiful designs that we have worked on alongside of some of the statements that have really worked for us as reminders, because when you have a phrase as a reminder, one of the phrases that we have on there that we've had on some clothes as well that people love is feel everything, fear nothing. It looks really cool on a poster on your wall, so keep checking into thedigitaldojo.net, and when that live button goes live, you'll be one of the first to know. But also, it's a lovely reminder to have. So the next time somebody says, oh God, are you just feeling everything? Yeah, I am feeling everything. Oh, you're so sensitive. You're welcome. I am sensitive. Because of that, your life is better. And if you don't think so, I know my life is better. So it gives us the space to lean into who we are. So come and check those out. Those will be up and live very soon. And until then, come listen to some audios and or videos and or other things on thedigitaldojo.net.
Okay, so the idea of being sensitive and sensitivity has to be the part of our intuition conversation part 2. We're going to reframe that for people because most of the time it's looked at as, oh, you're too sensitive. You're so sensitive. And I'm like, well, that's actually a superpower that is part of intuition. Yeah. That you can even find some more conversation about at thedigitaldojo.net and any one or all of our socials. If you've got a favorite social media platform, good chance we're on it. And if you found anything here that was compelling or interesting or useful, you can find more of it, not only as good information, but on your favorite social media platform, whether it's YouTube or Pinterest. And we are still extending for the balance, or I can't believe we're halfway through technically.
That's nuts.
26, our 50% discount for any and all courses or information on the digitaldojo.net that is monetized. We're offering and happily reminding our News for the Soul audience that you can have 50% off on any of those items. So look for us there. If you've got any more questions, we'd love to continue the conversation.
And if you want us to answer any of your questions, you can also email your digitaldojo@gmail.com or just go to our website and you can message us from there. But your digitaldojo@gmail.com is how you can get a hold of us directly.